All right, got it. All right, good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Chavtes.
Tessie.
One second. Right? No, your microphone is unmuted. Is that good now? My picture's what? Oh wait, do it again. Ask me again. All right. Okay, they swiped it over. All right. Am I on now? All right, fine. All right. So today is Daf Chavtes. We left off Kaf Chesed Beis, the bottom, the two dots. So we brought a Mishnah, small, like one or two line or one line Mishnah at the bottom of Kaf Chesed Aleph. So the Mishnah over there said if one's pitcher broken, which is a rabbim, and it caused damage with the water or with one of the shards, then he's chayiv. Then Rabbi Yehuda says, with intentions, the mischavin chayiv, and mischavin pater. Now, so Rabbi Yehuda mischavin chayiv. So hechidam mischavin. So we're like, I don't know, 8 lines or so from the bottom. So what does it mean that what Rabbi Yehuda said was he mischavin? In other words, it's not. In other words, how did the pitcher fall? In other words, when he tended, let's say, to go ahead and lower the pitcher, and it slipped or something. But he was intending to lower it, then it broke. Not that it fell out. That's if he intended to lower it, and he indeed lowered it, just lowered it too hard, and it broke. So therefore, he's chayiv. So the Gemara says, "Amar Rabba miskavin the." So right. Some of the Abayi Michlal the Mechayiv Meir Afilu b'Nifsha. So wait, according to what you're saying. It sounds like we're on the bottom of Chesed Beis, Eddie. Right here. We're at the bottom. Yeah. So he says, over there. So Mashma Rabbi Meir argued, since he say, in this case, if you ain't having it still be chayiv. So Rabbi Yehuda, if it slipped from his hand, it be chayiv. So I'm like, right? Even if it, he still is holding the handle of his hand and the pitcher broke and he's had the handle in his hand and the pitcher fell out and it broke, he'd still be chayiv. So Gemara says, no, sir. And when it comes to an onus, something which is completely out of his control, the Torah exempts a person. The pasuk says, it says there, the gabe, a woman, right, who was violated, right? She was raped by a man. We're on the bottom of Chesed Beis. So she was violated by a man. We don't do anything to her because it was an onus. It was against her will. So it's over here. He was holding the pitcher, and all of a sudden it snapped off the handle, and the pitcher broke, and he was still holding it. He should be pater. And maybe you say, oh no, maybe by the case of the Nara, we say she's pater because in terms of we don't put her to death, we don't punish her. In a Nezikin, but maybe by Nezikin, even as chayiv, maybe by Nezikin, a complete accident, one would be chayiv. We're going to the Bryce. It says nishpa selko. If it broke from his hand, they didn't pick it up, or nafal kamalo, or his camel fell below hey midu, and he does not stand it up. So now we're going to be introducing a brisa, which is very similar to our Mishnah, right? So our Mishnah consisted of the Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda, and this brisa will be Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim, right? Which should be very similar. Tanakama will be like Rabbi Meir, and the Chachamim will be very similar to Rabbi Yehuda. Now, so that was the introduction. So if let's say his pitcher broke and he doesn't clean it up, or his camel fell down and he doesn't pick it up, and someone then comes by and gets damaged by these articles that are left over in the Rosh Hashanah. So Meir b'chayev be'ezekan. Meir says one is chayev with their damage. And the Chachamim say pater.
Well, firstly, they should be able to know to walk around it. I'll call it for like an animal.
So I'm sorry?
I would say like for a person, ditch, for example. First of all, in the ditch, that's not the first of all, they should sink it.
So we'll soon see how the animal fell. We'll soon see the situation. But right now, there's going to be 2 cases we're going to point out. So let's just hold that thought for a second. So in these cases, they fell out, but he didn't clean up the mess in the Shus Rabbim. So pater b'dini adam, chayv b'dini shemayim. So really b'dini adam, he's pater. He's chayv b'dini shemayim. He should have cleaned it up. However, the Chachamim were be moed to Meir, but Avno, Sakino, Maso, Shanicha, Berosh Gago. Let's say he goes ahead and he puts a package or a knife or something on top of his roof. The Nafla, the Ruach Mitsuya, and he falls and it blows over and causes damage, Viziko, and it falls over from a common wind. In other words, one should anticipate a common wind, right? Let's say 5 to 10 miles per hour. It's going to blow over, right? Don't leave it at the edge, and he does it anyways. In that case, the Chachamim agree that one is chayiv. And Umayder, a mayor, and Rav Moide agrees, and this is me the point, the Rabbanan, the Mala Kantanta Alagag, one goes ahead, let's say he fills a pitcher at the end of his roof, Albanat, the Nagvan, or something to go ahead and dry off, the Naflu Baruch Shen Matsuya, and it blows over from a hurricane, which is uncommon, or a tornado. The Zikon causes damage to putter, that he's putter. So what do you see over here? Eitzin, one is putter. It's not just a case of you don't put the woman to death. Even an einus happens. So if I'm holding my pitcher, right, I'm holding the handle very carefully,
Right.
and the pitcher just breaks off, and I still have the handle in my hand. I didn't do anything. I should be putter. Telling Rabbaye, the tarti pligi. Really, there's two machlokes going on, right? So, Alan, let's see what's going on. What you were talking about. Two machlokes going on. Pligi b'shas nafila, upligi lacher nafila. Right? There's one in terms of how it fell or while it fell. Right? There's damage, and how did it go ahead and fall? And B, there's another machlokes as to after it fell. If you went ahead and cleaned it up or not. If you didn't clean it up, are you chayiv or not? So pligi b'shas nafila b'niskal. Right? Let's say one trips. So pasheya. So Ma'asav niskal b'pasheya. Who? Ma'asav niskal la pasheya. One says if one trips, it's negligence. Right? You should have been more careful. Right? You stumbled over. Your stumbling is on you. You're negligent. Therefore, you're chayiv. And the other ones say no, that you stumble over la pusher. It's not negligence, therefore you should putter. And also plig nafila. And they also argue right after nafila. And what's the case there? But mafia and these go right. In other words, let's say it broke. So he says, my camel just died over there, and left there. Says, what? I don't want any more hefker. Right now, so I left it out. I said it's hefker, but it's still sort of a hazard in the public way. So if I don't own it anymore, right? So am I still obligated? So the one holds that if he's mafkeret, he doesn't own it anymore, he's still chayiv. But myself, I would say no putter, and he's still a putter. I mean, mine tani. And why do you say it's two cases? Tani tarti huchlak echad b'mayim o shalaka b'chesses. Right. So why isn't the Mishnah? If you go back and look at our Mishnah. Right, that one line Mishnah we have Kochas Aleph. It says over there, if his pitcher broke in the Shus Rabbim, the huchlach echav b'mayim, and the water causes damage, or a shard causes damage. Now, why'd you have to bring two cases? It's one case, right? Why'd you bring two cases in the Mishnah, right? Hainu ha, it's the same thing, right? You get damaged by the water, you get damaged by the shard. Elalab hachi kamar huchlach echav b'mayim b'shas nafila means the water during the time of the nafila. Right, and also the case of the shard, that is after the field, he didn't go ahead and pick it up. He just made it hefker. Is he still a chayiv or not? And by the fact that our Mishnah is two different cases, b'shas nafila achar nafila, so Bryce and Nami b'tarti, so to the Bryce is also two cases. Now,
So according to Mishnah, I mean, no, you're Hasid.
We'll soon have to see what miskavein means, right? What miskavein, right? Right, because the Tanakh of our Mishnah said that you're turning away from the Mishnah, right? The Tanakh said you're chayiv, and Rabbi Yehuda says unless you're miskavein, you're put. Right, so now bish lamakadam. I understand makadam.
Concentrate.
Wait,
What?
Miskaven.
Right, if or intended at the end, right? It's
you
similar,
pre-plan
right?
it.
Yeah.
What was the intent?
So the Gemara is going to come back to answer that, understand that question. Because originally we thought intention versus an onus. And we said, no, it can't be an onus because everyone would agree, even Rabbi Meir, even Tanakama would agree that onus is putter in the case of Nezikin. Right? So therefore we came on to know there's Shas Nafila, right? If one tripped, right? And that was his fault or not, and then so that was the case of the Bryce. And now we're at the understand the Mishnah.
So we're saying that.
So let's see the Mishnah right now. We're going to answer your question. Now, Bishlam Makado, I understand the case of the pitcher. In other words, it could be his fault or not. Right? how during the time of the nefila or after nefila, in other words, basically he tripped, right? It was that his fault or not, and after nefila, did he go ahead and pick it up, and it was he mafker. Eligamalo, but his camel is bishla after nefila. I understand if the animal goes ahead and falls down. Okay, the animal's on the ground, and he has to go ahead and pick it up. Mishkachas but mafker. Right when he's going ahead, he says it's okay, it's hefker. So is he still chai for it or not? El b'shas nefila, but understand how does an animal fall the shas nefila, right? Heichem mishkachas lo. So Marvacha kegoin the ovra b'maya derech sharasa denar. So the Gemara says no, he takes the animal, say through this water, and he sort of and through this like the banks of the river, the animal falls down, right? Because normally if an animal just falls down, I didn't do anything, right? The animals don't fall down; they know how to walk, right? I don't have to teach my animal how to walk. So my animal falls down and causes damage; it's an onus, right? So we're saying over here, no, he brought in the river banks. The Gemara says no, hechidami. If there's another way, he knows he could have gone on dry land, pasheu. Then the owner is negligent for taking his camel that way. So even though his camel tripped in the water, that's on the owner because he shouldn't have been in the first place. And if there's no other way, then it should be an inus. So we're talking about the case. The askil vatkila ba'gamla. In other words, when he tripped, he himself tripped, and then the camel tripped over him. Right. So in other words, that really is, like a sort of is he negligent or not? Is it on him for tripping, or is it not on him because he didn't like the same case tripping? Now, my miskavim. So now going back to Rabbi Yehuda, what does Rabbi Yehuda mean when he says if he was miskavim, then he's chayv? I give the Tanakh. If he's in miskavim, he's patur. So my miskavim, so ika. So Rabbi Yehuda said miskavim lischais becharse. Right. In other words, if he has intentions to go ahead and to acquire the shards, right? If he intends to go ahead and acquire the shards, but if he doesn't, right? If he leaves them out there, then completely, basically, they're hefker. Then he's patur.
Basically, you intended to what his intention was.
Right. Well, maybe we're dealing with somebody who is, honest, right? And this guy knows. I guess they asked him, and the guy goes to Beis Din. There was some rabbi with a big white beard, and so his stuff fell. He says, "Okay, if I'm obligated to pay for it, I'll pay. If not, I'm not." So he says, "Okay, what happened? It fell, it broke. Did you want to pick it up?" He says, "No. Once it's broke, it was useless. So I made it hefker." So no. Now, Rabbi Elazar Amar b'shas nefila machlekes. So according to Rabbi Elazar, Amar b'shas nefila, while it falls machlekes, v'aleachar nefila mai. So what do you say after nefila? There's not a machlekes. It was after it breaks down. So divrei kol patur. Everyone agrees it's patur. I ha'ikar Rameir b'chayiv. Rameir says he's chayiv. So elamai. So what do you say? Okay, fine. Divrei kol chayiv. Everyone agrees that he's chayiv. I ha'ikar rabbanan. But if you look at in the Bryce of the rabbanan say afterwards the patri. Ella my b'shas nefila. What does it mean when it says that they argue b'shas nefila? It means af b'shas nefila. Even during Shas Nefila, not only during Le'achar Nefila, but even B'Shas Nefila, it's the same machlekes between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim, and also the Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda, right? In our Mishnah, right? Same machlekes in the Mishnah, B'Shas Nefila, the Kamash Balan to the Abai, just like Abai. Abai said above. There's machlekes B'Tarti, right? That's he said like 6 times on the top. In other words, they argue both in Shas Nefila and Le'achar Nefila. So over here, according to Rabbi Elazar, we'll say the same thing that they argue b'shas nefila and li'achar nefila.
Yeah, right. I'm saying Rabbi Meir and Tanakama agreed, actually, right?
Right. So both right. Rabbi Meir and Tanakama both hold that chayiv. Right, b'chayiv. Right. That's what I was saying. Is it's a very similar brisa to our Mishnah that'll sort of setting it up. Now, turn the page. But Rabbi Yochanan Amar. Rabbi Yochanan says no. Li'achar nefila machlekes. No, after the following machlekes. About b'shas nefila mai. But what about b'shas nefila mai? So divrei kol patur, so everyone says patur. I v'hamid the comment Rabbi Yochanan the comment. Rabbi Yochanan says later on. He says loitim masnis and Rameir. He the Amar nis kaposhehu. Right. So he says you can't say is a Mishnah later on Lamed Aleph. Right. So the Mishnah over there that the two people are walking. The first person trips, and then the person that is walking behind them, falls over that person. So he says over there, don't say that's the Mishnah's right Meir, the Amar Niska Pashea, that a person who stumbles is negligent, Michlal, the Meir Mechayev, right? In other words, so you see over there that Rabbi Meir is of the Shita right? That one is that one's doubles. He's negligent. So you see that since he's negligent, you'd be chayiv. So how could you say over here the shas nefila? You'd say pater. So what do you say? Dibra kol chayiv says you're chayiv. Yeah. I mean the komar. Huh?
Just told us I need two people.
Good.
They'll show up. What time is it? It's still early.
All right.
It's still early there. Rabbi Yochanan. Someone will show up in 2 minutes. Someone will show up in 2 minutes there, I guarantee. Rabbi Yochanan. But Rabbi Yochanan is around. Don't say the mission's like Rameir. The Omar Niska Pashea, who says that stumbling is Pashea. Michlal, the Pachi Rabbanan. The Rabbanan would say one trips is Pater. So you can't say Shas Nefila tripping is Chayiv according to everybody, because it's clear that Rabbanan all Pater. So Kamash Malon, the Mafkin Echas of the Hacha, who the Patri, Rabbanan the Einisu. That's only a case where a person's mafkir that his thing that broke. The Hacha the Patri Rabbanan the Einisu. But mafkir niska b'alma machayiv. In other words, like this: there's a chiluk here. Now, as if one goes ahead and normally just says his items are what's it called? Are hefker. He's still chayiv. But over here, his items were only left in the Rishus HaRabim from a tripping, right? So he tripped, and it wasn't like a case where he took a picture and he broke it in the Rishus HaRabim. And he says, you know what? I wanted to hear the sound it made when it crashed, right? But I'm leaving it here. It's hefker. Then you're chayiv. Right? So if you leave something purposely, you're chayiv. But over here, it started as an onus. He tripped and it broke. And then after there was an onus, he says it's hefker. So then, in that case, they would say pater. So that's what the Rabbanan say pater. So if it's not a case of where he just leaves it out purposely, right? Leaves it out purposely, right? We'll soon try to compare it to the case of a boar, right? What it leaves it out purposely, which is around him. Rather, we're talking about a case of where it only came about through onus, and then afterwards left it hefker, then he says pater. Now, correct, right? He still left it out afterwards, but once again, it was there and it was hefker, so he didn't put it out. It was out there, and he says, it's ownerless.
It's too heavy,
Right. So in this case, since he didn't put it out there purposely, he doesn't own it. So therefore, there's no reason to find him chayiv. Yes, it was due to his actions, but he did. Yeah. Right. The janitors are the what's it? Well, that is the public.
It's glass pieces. It's still pater.
He'd be pater in that case because he didn't break. He didn't put it there purposely.
Right.
According to Rabbanan. According to Mayor, Mayor is still chayiv even if he was not here.
Even the first
At the time of count, right?
Don't you have to put a warning sign or?
No, there's no hazard. It's hefker. He doesn't own it.
What is it?
So Itamar, let's see this case. Now let's get to this case. Itamar, mafker niskov. One who goes ahead and he leaves hefker over something that he left, something which is potentially hazardous, right? Shards of glass or pottery out in the public way. So either mafker niskav Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yezer, Chad Omar Chayiv, Chad Omar Pater. One says you're chayiv, one says you're pater. So lema man de chayiv krameir. The one who says you're chayiv is like Rameir. Man de the pater karabanan. Who says like Rabbanan? So the one says no. I'll leave it to Rameir. Kuli amalei pligi. Everyone who's according to Rameir that be chayiv. Ki pligi. I'll leave it to Rabbanan. When the Rabbanan say pater, man de pater karabanan. The one who says is pater say like Rabbanan. Well, man de chayiv. The one who says chayiv says I'm looking on a damri afilu Rabbanan. I would really hold like the Rabbanan, but however, ad kanu pater Rabbanan after niskam the hacham mishum the einisu. Only in this case, right? Because there was an einus, he tripped, and then from there it came. Then he says it's pater. About mafke niska, but a regular case of mafke niska, right? The alma mechayev. Then he would be mechayev. So that was Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar. Now, who said what?
The item here that that's
let's see a pitcher, the ceramic pitcher that that broke, and now there's shards. So Tistayin Rabbi Elazar hu the Amar Chayiv. Let's say that Rabbi Elazar says the one that you're chayiv for leaving out your damaging items. Diamar Rabbi Elazar, Mishum Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Elazar says in the name of Rabbi Yishmael right? I'm going to say the name of Rabbi Shmuel only because at the end of the shir, right? So Shnei Dvarim Einan B'Shusan Shel Adam V'Alzin HaKasav Kilu Hein B'Shusan. Right? There's two things the Torah says. Really, it's not in a person's possession, but the Torah made it's like in your rishus. Ve'Elohein Bor B'Shus HaRabim. A pit in Rishus HaRabim. A person goes ahead and digs a pit in Rishus HaRabim and says, "I don't own it. Right? It's not mine." So, nevertheless, the Torah makes it like it's yours because I put it there. I dug the pit. Therefore, it's like it's mine, and therefore I'm obligated for it. And also, the chametz misheisha isulamau. Right? If you say the chametz is right is worthless, so if it's worthless, then you can't own it. If you can't own it, then you can't be chayiv for owning it. Right? So the Torah says, no, it's like you own it. Therefore, from whatever on Erev Pesach, the chametz misheisha isulamau. Well, let's concentrate on the first now. Tistai. Therefore, it makes sense. So, what do you see over here? The Torah says that these shards are like this person, right? And therefore, Rabbi Elazar says he's chayiv because Rabbi Elazar over here seems to say that one is damaged articles in the left in Rishus HaRabim are like it's his, and therefore he caused damage. Yumi Amar Rabbi Elazar. How did Rabbi Elazar say this? Amar Rabbi Elazar. He actually said the opposite. The Tanah we learn in Mishnah. One who goes ahead and he flips over or moves. It's a golel, right? Dung, Rishus HaRabim. The huzak behen, and someone becomes damaged. The huzak becomes acher chayiv beniska. So he's chayiv in this case. So understand, he left it out there, right? And so in this case, so he left it out there. The Amar Rabbi Elazar, and says Rabbi Elazar in that case, leishanu elashniskavin lezacher is behen. Only if he was intending to go ahead and keep it, and he says, okay, I'm going to keep it. It's mine. I'm just going to put it over here for right now, right? But if he didn't, Potter, then he's Potter, even though he left it out. Alma, Mafkin, Niska, Potter. So you see there, one of these is Nezikin out in the public way is Potter. So, no, over here, we're talking the reason why he's Potter is because he went ahead and put it back in its place. What do you mean? And Amar Avina, so Moshe Ravada Barava Lama. So what's it? So what's it similar to? Right? So it's similar to Lamaitzi Bor Megula, right? A person finds a pit in the Rishus HaRabim and the Chisu and he covers it. And then he goes ahead and he uncovers it. So in such a case, so it goes back to the original person. So do this case.
Don't you have to put a warning too, or no?
No. He didn't take the pit there. So Amarle Master buried the Rav Mari, the Ravina, so Midami, who says a similar Hasam, like my Sarisha. Over there, the reason why you putter is because the Meiser Rishon, the person dug the pit. You just covered it. You didn't do anything to the pit. You just covered it. You put a board over it. So Hacha, you stuck little Meiser Rishon over here by you moving it, right? The issue was somebody left the dung over here. If I moved it over there, then the original action is no longer there. So if I went ahead and put it back, it's like I did the new action. It's a different case. So hello, dummy. Megula. Right? This is more similar to a case where a person finds a pit that was uncovered, and then he went and he filled it in. The chazer b'chafra, and then he went back and then he dug out that which the dirt that he put in. Right, and therefore, right, and therefore, in that case, so basically, so he took out the dirt, and now it's his. So it's similar to this case. So just because if I move back a new position, the original person's action who left it there in the first place is over. Now it's on me. I should be chayiv. Just like a case of there was a pit, and I filled it in, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to put it back. So he digs it back out. It's not the other guy's pit now. It's my pit, and I'm responsible. So Ravashi, no, we're talking about a case of the reason why he's potter is because he moved it less than 3 tefachim. Right? What's the reason why you're so forced to say that we're talking about a case over here where originally the dung was left out in Rishus HaRabim, and therefore the person is chayiv if someone trips over it, right, or whatever damage it causes, right? And then I move it within 3 tefachim, and therefore it's still on the first person. And the time of the niskavin the zachas ba'ah. And the only reason is I would be chayiv if I wanted to be zoichet. Ha'im niskavin the zachas ba'ah lo. But if I didn't want to be zoichet, then I would be potter. The Luke Rebbe Lamala Megimel. Why don't you stay? We're talking about a case of where I moved them more than Gimel Tvachim. We're talking. When am I chayiv? Say I moved them more than 3, and therefore, even if I didn't want to be zoichet, nevertheless, since I moved it, it was my actions now that put it here. I should be chayiv. So Rava says no. My season kashyasin. The wording bothered him. My area hafuch. Why does he say the word hafuch? Right? At least he bia. Right? He lifted it. He lifted the dung. In other words, he made a kinyan and he put it down. Right? Must be that something that the lashon of hafach means he just moved it over. Now, so we originally had this machlokes this between Rabbi Yechon and Rabbi Elazar. We didn't know who said chayiv, a person of mafkir yiskav, and who said pater. So Rabbi Elazar mechayiv, and now we just try to say that Rabbi Elazar was the one who says that one who leaves his stuff out, right? Just like this case of the dung, he leaves it out afterwards. He does a complete move, right? If he moves it, then he's chayiv. So it must be Rabbi Yechon and Amar pater. So by the fact that Rabbi Elazar and they're arguing, so it says chayiv. Rabbi Yechon must be the Amora who says pater. And can you say Rabbi Yechon says this? But now we go to the Mishnah. So a person goes ahead and he hides a thorn or glass, or he goes out and he builds his fence with thorns, which could cause damage. The gather of Shanafa, the Shus Rabbim, and then or his fence fell in Shus Rabbim. But huzak bahed, and it causes damage. Chayiv benisko. He's chayiv in the damages. And on that, the Rabbi Yechon, leishana ela mafriach. We're only talking about a case of where his items when he originally built them were projecting, sticking out into the Shus Rabbim, and that's why it's chayiv. But let's say they were within his rishus, then he's pater. Then he's pater in such a case. So let's say over here, he had a fence there with thorns, and it was on his yard. His fence fell down, and then he says, "You know what? I'm just going to be mafkir the area where the fence fell, and people can walk there if they want. And a person walks by and gets damaged by it, so he's pater. So this is a case of one who goes there, because you can't say it was in the Shus Rabbim in his yard and he still owned it, because then the owner could say, "What are you doing in my yard? Right? I don't care. I have a broken fence. He shouldn't have been in my yard, right? And got damaged by my fence." But over here, his fence fell. He says, "You know what? I'm not going to rebuild it. I'll let it to the Shus Rabbim." So we see over here that if it was in his yard, then he's pater, right? So Avamatante pater. So Avamatante my time of pater. So what's the reason? La mishum dahavile bor b'shusa, right? Because it's considered to be bor b'shusa that he says, okay, it's half that day he's pater michlal. The chiv the bor the shusa rabbim. But we see that only because it was b'shusa he's chayiv. But if it was a shusa rabbim, then who? Then he'd be chayiv. Alma mafkin niskav chayiv. So we see that one is mafkin niskav is chayiv. So the rest is low. No, lo yelamin locha mafkin niskav pater. But when some say my time of pater, what's the reason? It's how his pater that he leaves it within his mishum, doesn't protrude his pater. Mishum da itbar Allah. Amar Ravacha bered Ravik. Lafi shein darkan shabnei adam lischachik b'ksalim. Right, because it's not normal for a person. I didn't have to anticipate someone rubbing you up against the fence, because it's not normal for a person to go run up against it. Well, Miyamar Rabbi Yechon, how could this Rabbi Yechon says? Well, Rabbi Yechon, halach kastam mishnah. Halach is like a stam mishnah, and it says Utanan hachayfer bor b'shus rabim. One goes ahead and digs a pit of b'shus rabim. Right, you want to say that he's mafkin nechasav, then he's pater. V'nafel l'seichan, some a shor or a chamor or a donkey or an ox fall in it, umeis, and they die. Chayiv. The one is chayiv, even though he doesn't own it. It's hefker. Elo liyolam Rabbi Yechon Amar Chayiv. Really, Rabbi Yechon says chayiv. Umid Rabbi Yechon Amar Chayiv. Rabbi Yechon is the one who says that mafkir niskav is chayiv. Rabbi Elazar Amar pater. Rabbi Elazar is pater. Rabbi Elazar, didn't Rabbi Elazar just say earlier Mishum Rabbi Shmuel right? When I quoted Rabbi Elazar, I said he says in the name of Rabbi Shmuel that the two things that that the Torah says that even though it's not yours, we say as if it's yours. And therefore, you be chayiv for these items. So that was only he said the name of Rabbi Shmuel. So it says like Kasha Hadi Day Hadi Rabbi. When he was quoting Rabbi Shmuel holds your chayiv, but he himself held that no, if I'm mafker the item, then I would be indeed be pater, and therefore Rabbi Elazar was the one who says pater, and Rabbi Yechon was the one who says chayiv, and therefore it'd be similar to the machlokes that we had between coming and
Coming.
stop here. So Sunday, Mr. Shem, 6:45.